Hello, and welcome back. Today we have Platinum Review number 21, Stray. Developed by Blue 12 Studio and published by Annapurna Interactive, Stray was released in 2022, exclusively for the PlayStation 5. Although, it has since been released on multiple platforms. With a heavy focus on exploration and discovery, Stray is a third-person adventure game in which the player controls an unnamed cat in a cyberpunk-like post-apocalyptic world. This unnamed cat was inspired by a real-life stray cat that was found and adopted by one of the game's creators. To make things easier, I will refer to the in-game cat as Murtaugh, the same as its real-life counterpart. The game begins on a dark and stormy night. A group of cats take shelter from the raging storm, as the player controls Murtaugh and immediately learns the best action of the game, meowing. Doing this 100 times will reward a trophy, and will easily be earned in quick order. Murtaugh can interact with each of his friends before they all settle in for the night. They awake the next morning to a bright and sunny day, as the rain has passed. Together, they explore, as the player learns the basic movement and controls, such as jumping, running, and interacting with environmental objects. After trekking through some rough terrain, their luck runs out, as Murtaugh is separated from his friends, falling far below into the darkness. Despite a rough landing and some injuries, Murtaugh is slowly able to look for an escape, but he is now all alone. However, his injuries soon prove too much, and he passes out. After resting up and licking away his wounds, Murtaugh continues to look for a way out as he reaches the dead city. As he travels through this abandoned city, there are no signs of life, other than a few strange, scavenger-like creatures, and what appears to be a dead robot. Utilizing his curiosity and clever thinking, Murtaugh enters an old apartment. Inside, he finds a carpet that can be scratched. For a trophy, you must scratch a carpet in each chapter, so be on the lookout for these as you play. After more exploration, Murtaugh comes across another dying robot, but what little light remains quickly fades out. However, he soon finds out that he is not alone. The strange scavengers from earlier, called Zurks, return, and in greater numbers. These ravenous creatures are quick-moving and will attack at first sight. Murtaugh must flee through the alleys to reach safety. You can earn a trophy here if you can escape this first Zurk encounter without being bitten. If you are bitten, just button mash to shake them off, and the checkpoint can be restarted. This was definitely a challenge, as the Zurk behavior was random, and the only real technique was to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge, to swerve around them, and repeat when necessary. Murtaugh is able to escape. From here, he continues to explore and search until entering the Flat, another abandoned apartment. Inside, Murtaugh discovers a small drone, which he is able to recharge and awaken. B12, as it is called, once worked for a scientist, but unfortunately, its memories are corrupted. Now a team, they travel together. Before heading out, B12 provides Murtaugh with a high-tech backpack, which he reluctantly wears. With the backpack, an inventory menu is now available, which will store items found in the game to be used later. As they travel, B12 struggles to reclaim its memories, as bits and pieces will begin to come back. Traveling deeper, they reach the slums, a run-down and decayed, but not uninhabited area. However, the robotic villagers are not welcoming of unexpected visitors. After realizing they are not Zerks and not a threat, a guardian of the slums welcomes B12 and Murtaugh. Unfortunately, the elevator to higher levels is broken and overrun with Zerks, which traps everyone below in the slums. They show the Guardian the postcard, who advises them to speak with Momo, an outsider. From here, the player is free to explore the slums and speak with the inhabitants. To get the full and best experience, it is essential to speak with all characters, explore every nook and cranny, and uncover the mysteries of each area. Doing so will provide background information and provide a better understanding of the mindset and depressed state the robots of the slums have, knowing that they will never leave. The basic gameplay is trial and error, with cause and effect from the various NPC interactions. Certain actions, which will seem unimportant or random at first, will prove essential later on, and will be required to progress the story. If you get stuck at any point, you can ask B12 for some assistance. Along the way, a few trophies can be earned for some miscellaneous tasks. These include things such as dunking the basketball, finding music sheets hidden throughout the city, rubbing up against 5 different robots, sleeping for more than an hour, and wearing a paper bag on your head, which alters the controls temporarily since Murtaugh can't see. There will also be collectible-related things to discover, such as memories. These will slowly provide insight and clarity into B12's past and the nature of this post-apocalyptic world. Those highlighted in gray will show how many there are in the current chapter left to find. Each area will also have a unique badge to earn, which requires the completion of certain tasks. In the slums, finding all of the music sheets will earn a badge. Before moving on to the next chapter, it is recommended to fully explore and complete everything there is to do, but anything you might miss can be found later using Chapter Select. Now, back to the story. Following the advice of the Guardian, Murtaugh enters Momo's apartment, where inside, a depressed and lonely Momo lives. It turns out that he and his friends once formed a group to try to reach the outside, but he is the only one that remains, as the others are missing. Having given up on his dream, Momo hands over his research notes and wallows in despair. Murtaugh and B12 take them and leave, now in search of additional information Momo's friends may have left behind. So, they search the nearby apartments. The first thing they find is a notebook which provides some details on the Zerks. The next research notebook is Clementine's, which mentions a broken transceiver. And finally, the last notebook belongs to Doc, who seems to have discovered a way to fight back against the Zerks. Also hidden within the pages is a potential fix for the transceiver, so they decide to bring this to Momo in hopes of reinvigorating him. This hidden note ignites a lost spark in Momo, and re-inspired, he repairs the transceiver. Momo decides that the only way to communicate with the upper levels is for Murtaugh to climb a nearby tower and install the transceiver, as he is the only one able to evade the Zerks. So, he and B12 head to the rooftops, where a dangerous and Zerk-filled journey awaits. After many intense and treacherous encounters, they are finally able to reach the top and install the transceiver, but doing so triggers some dark memories that shed some light on the origins of the slums. After returning to the slums, they meet Momo at the local bar. Miraculously, Momo is not only able to get a signal, but connects with his old friend who is still alive in the upper levels. Unfortunately, the connection is short-lived, but not before they discover the path up lies through the sewers. As they formulate their next move, an angry bar patron interrupts. It turns out, this bitter stranger is none other than Doc's son, Seamus, who is resentful of his father leaving and never coming back. Undeterred, Momo decides that Murtaugh should show Seamus his father's notebook, in hopes that he will change his attitude. This works, and they are even able to discover Doc's secret lab, and within, a tracker that may know his location. As expected though, it is broken, so they head to the tech whiz Elliot, who should be able to repair it. Luckily, Elliot is able to make a quick adjustment, and the tracker is good as new. Murtaugh and B12 bring it back to Seamus, and together, they head off in search of Doc. This leads them through a door on the outskirts of the slums. On the other side are countless Zerk eggs. Unfortunately, Seamus can go no farther, so Murtaugh and B12 must continue on their own. After several life-threatening Zerk encounters, they reach an old apartment building. Inside, they find some locked-up Zerks and some strange-looking research equipment. Not only that, but amazingly, the apartment is Doc's, and he's still living there. It turns out, he left years ago and developed a defluxer to fight the Zerks, but it no longer has power, and he is trapped within the apartment. Fortunately, Murtaugh is nimble enough to reach the generator while avoiding the horde of Zerks waiting outside, but it was a close call. Ecstatic and ready to return home, Doc mounts the defluxer to B12, who can now blast the Zerks with light to make them explode. This new game-changing ability can annihilate the Zerks with ease, but it is not without limitation. Using it for too long will cause it to overheat and temporarily shut down to recharge, leaving Murtaugh vulnerable to attack. With carefully timed blasts and strategic planning, they all return to the slums, where Doc is reunited with Seamus. With Doc and Seamus happily together, Murtaugh and B12 are ready to reach the upper levels and meet up with Momo by the sewers. The journey is long and dangerous, but Momo's boat can navigate through. That is, until the way forward is blocked by a large mechanical door, forcing Momo to hold it open as Murtaugh and B12 are once again forced to travel alone. The other side contains countless Zerks in the maze-like sewer tunnels. You can earn a trophy here if you are able to carefully navigate the entire sewer system without killing any Zerks. Luckily, you can be spotted, but this is definitely tricky. If swarmed, it is best to just run away and circle back. After a long while, B12 and Murtaugh will come across some strange eyeballs in the walls. These trap B12 in a strange trance, as Murtaugh is bombarded by Zerks. Temporarily distracted, B12 must then overload the defluxer to save Murtaugh, with no time to spare. Although this works, the defluxor is fried, and Murtaugh must make a run for it. They reach safety, but the defluxor is beyond repair. Finally, after what felt like forever, Murtaugh and B-12 reach the end of the sewer line. On the other end is a strange town, Ant Village. As they approach the village, B-12 experiences another memory, but this time it is different. He discovers that the scientist he has been referring to all along is actually himself. The scientist uploaded his thoughts and memories into B-12, but something went wrong until Murtaugh appeared. This causes B-12 to mentally shut down, so Murtaugh explores the village for a little while. A trophy can be earned if you try to play Mahjong with the locals. Another badge can also be earned for collecting 3 different flowers spread throughout the area. After exploring Ant Village, they reach Balthazar, who is meditating and not too happy to be interrupted. He informs them that the final member of their team, Clementine, made it all the way up to Midtown, and he provides her address. This snaps B-12 out of his funk, and together, he and Murtaugh continue to climb higher up in search of Midtown. This leads to an abandoned subway station, which is just outside Midtown. As they finally arrive, they discover wanted posters with Clementine's photo plastered all over town. It turns out, she is a wanted troublemaker. Midtown is another large village, but with a lot nicer accommodations and a cleanlier vibe. There are numerous NPCs to interact with, and various stores and buildings to explore. Unlike Ant Village, which was relatively small, Midtown is similar in size to the slums, but with a flashier and high-class appearance. After interacting with the various characters, discovering some memories, completing miscellaneous tasks, and generally exploring, Murtaugh reaches an apartment complex and within finds Clementine's home. Clementine accepts Murtaugh as a new recruit and hopes he can avoid the Sentinels who are always watching. She plans to use the old subway to reach the highest level, and even has the keys to operate it. All she needs is an atomic battery that can be found inside Neko Corporation, but the factory has tight security. So, Clementine sends Murtaugh and B12 to find one of her associates who should be able to assist in the infiltration of Neko Corporation. The robot they are looking for, Blazer, is identified by his bomber jacket and can be found in a dark alleyway. Blazer has been scoping out the factory, and the only way inside is to pose as a worker. This sends Murtaugh and B12 to find a worker helmet and jacket so Blazer can sneak past security. They explore the city and set into motion a chain of events that allows them to acquire the needed items. With these, Blazer acts as a worker and gets Murtaugh inside. Within, Murtaugh must sneak past many Sentinel patrols and avoid detection to finally reach the battery. Taking the battery triggers an alarm, but Murtaugh and B12 are able to escape and head back to Clementine's apartment. However, inside, Clementine is nowhere to be found, but a series of clues leads them to the nearby nightclub, where she is awaiting their arrival. A trophy can be earned when reaching and leaving Clementine's apartment, as well as within Neko Corporation, if you can avoid Sentinel detection across the entire chapter. This is best done later, using Chapter Select. That way, in case you are spotted, you can reload the chapter. This may take several tries and requires extremely careful movement and precise timing, but with enough repetition and practice, it can be accomplished. Just make sure to take your time. After getting through the Sentinel patrol, Murtaugh and B12 reach the nightclub and look inside for Clementine. A trophy can be earned if you scratch the vinyl record, but otherwise, all they find inside is nothing but betrayal and deceit, courtesy of a double cross at the hands of Blazer. After being knocked unconscious, Murtaugh awakes hanging in a small cage within a large jail. Clementine and B12 are nowhere to be seen, but Murtaugh is able to break free and look for them. Many sentinels patrol the prison, but Murtaugh is able to locate Clementine and free her with some nearby keys. They make their way through the rundown prison until they eventually spot B12, but he is held under high security. Murtaugh makes a run for him anyway, and is narrowly able to escape with B12 back to Clementine. From here, they continue to sneak through the compound in search of an exit. The Sentinels are not messing around, and will fire upon Murtaugh if he is spotted. Eventually, they discover what could be their way out. Clementine operates a car, while Murtaugh unlocks the way forward. He must then catch up while avoiding the Sentinel fire as they escape back to Midtown. However, the Sentinels are now on high alert, so Clementine ditches the car and allows Murtaugh and B12 to sneak out of the city alone, as she will stay behind. With the keys and battery, Murtaugh and B12 power on the subway and ride it up to the highest level. Upon exiting the subway, they find the cleanest and most technologically advanced looking area yet, Walled City 99. Here, the only inhabitants are helper bots who maintain the city. They do discover access to the outside, but the area is restricted. So, they head to the control room in search of answers. As they enter the control room, B12 remembers what happened. A plague ravaged the world, and those in the upper levels thought they were above everyone and everything in the lower levels. But unfortunately, the plague spared no one. B12 is determined to reach the outside, and devises a plan to remove the city's lockdown. B12 decides to hack the computer systems to unlock the roof, but each time he does so is overcome with an intense electrical charge. Sadly, this proves to be too much for B12 to handle, but he willingly makes that sacrifice. The final charge finally opens the roof and access to the outside, but B12 is shut down permanently. Saddened by the loss of his only friend, Murtaugh mourns for B12 before finally fulfilling their goals and reaching the outside. Fresh air and sunshine spreads throughout the different areas as Murtaugh steps back outside and the game ends. At this point, you will have all story-related trophies, and most, or all collectible, and chapter-related ones. Collectibles do carry over, and chapter select can be used for cleanup. Prior to selecting a chapter, the game will let you know how many memories you may be missing. All that will remain will be to complete a speedrun of the game in less than 2 hours. At first, this task seemed extremely daunting, but after your first playthrough, you will know which items and events are required for story progression, and which can be ignored completely. Many of the interactions and miscellaneous tasks are inconsequential, and mostly for added lore and the overall experience. Therefore, I do not recommend doing the speedrun on the first playthrough, as doing so will cause you to miss out on the full experience, which is a delightful and charming, although sad story. Overall, Stray was a relatively short but sweet experience. The exploration and discovery as a cat that can wreak havoc, knock things over, scratch on things, and meow at everyone was a great time. The gameplay itself was simple, but the cause and effect of seemingly insignificant actions had snowball-like effects later on, keeping the player engaged in all activities and always looking for the next secret to unravel. The slow uncovering of B12's memories expanded upon the basic post-apocalyptic world, providing a deep and emotionally layered story. Although devoid of human life, the story was intense and moving throughout, with the robots emulating the actions and behavior of the long-lost humans. As Murtaugh progressed up, the villages became cleaner, but each was not without its hardships. The slums were dark, dreary, and the inhabitants lived in constant fear of the Zerks. Ant Village was cold and isolated, while Midtown was ravaged by restricted access and dangerous Sentinel patrols. Only Walled City 99 had no dangers, but also no real inhabitants. Throughout the story, Murtaugh shines as a beacon of hope in an otherwise dark and hopeless world. The ending was bittersweet, as better times lie ahead for all villages, but Murtaugh is left alone, with no companion or friends. I really loved the friendship and bond that Murtaugh and B12 forged over time, as they grew closer throughout their journey. This makes the ending hit really hard, as I would have preferred if B12 had lived, but his sacrifice was not in vain. I recommend this game for anyone that loves to explore in an open world journey, especially if you are a fan of cats and just want to escape for a few hours and play as one in this truly heartwarming adventure. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time for Platinum Review number 22.